Hey guys, welcome to this Investor Spotlight session. Of course, I'm Scott Royal Smith, the owner of Royal Legal Solutions. We are posting this video today into our Facebook group, the Tax, Legal, and Asset Protection Secrets for Real Estate Investors Facebook group, which is the Facebook group for Royal Legal Solutions. So if you're listening to this on the podcast or anywhere else, you're going to want to join that group to be able to participate in the conversation with our high-level investors that we have there. I have the pleasure of having David with me today. He's the newest member of our group. And so David, thank you so much for joining me here today. And I wonder if you could give us a little bit of background about yourself and what your journey so far has been in investing in real estate and your entrepreneurialism.
Yeah, so I appreciate you having me on, Scott. I guess I got started in 2015. So I was a recruiter for the Marine Corps, and someone handed me the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I basically told him I don't really read, not my thing. And he pulled out a CD and said, "Hey, you're driving a lot. Listen to this." So I did. I couldn't come up with any excuses at that point in my life, and within 3 months, I closed a duplex, and then I got stationed elsewhere and just kind of kept investing. So I'm under contract right now on units 14 and 15, solo, 10 units, some other small stuff, and then partner on a syndication as well. And I've bought and sold some other assets throughout the last 4 years. So
Awesome, man. Well, it sounds like you're off to a great start here with just a few years in.
yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah, right on. Where do you see yourself going with your real estate investing? Like, what does the future look like in the next 5 years?
That's a great question. Ideally, a few more syndications under belt and trying to take advantage of some of this fear that people are feeling right now. The duplex I just locked on under contract, I don't know, the guy posted it at like 2015 prices. I guess he's trying to move it quickly, and I was able to. It was like almost no negotiations, almost no issues, just a quick purchase. So I guess the main goal for the next 5 years is to purchase enough real estate that I can live off of it. But I don't want to necessarily do the whole retire thing and passive and all that. I like all that. The goal is to have fun. I think real estate's kind of become the thrill of the hunt. I enjoy real estate investing. It's a fun pastime, fun hobby. And so I want to keep doing that. I want to go vertical, and I want to build the business and just grow in my local community.
That's awesome, man. What have you done so far in terms of like setting the foundations for those growths? Are you using the estate planning and series LLCs or other LLC structures and with that?
It could definitely be better, that's for sure. So at the moment, I have 3 different LLCs. So I actually have an online presence, podcast, YouTube, all that stuff. So I have that separate in its own LLC. And then I have an LLC for a partnership I was in. I guess I have an LLC for a syndication that I'm a GP on, and then an LLC for all my individual holdings. So I'm in a much more affordable market. So I kind of told myself that every time I hit like a $500,000 in a single LLC, then I'll build it out to another LLC and roll with it. But I have several separate entities, and I think I've done a pretty good job of not tying myself to them, but I definitely haven't done. I could do a lot better with umbrellas, insurance, and trusts, and all of that. So that's
Cool, man.
I don't know why we got connected, I suppose.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Is like one of the things I'm always curious about is that like everybody's a little bit different, right? About like what level of protection, what level of foundations they set. And one of the mantras that I hear from like David Green, and I hear it from all the guys that are ultra successful at the top of the game here, is about like, how do you set foundations for growth? Because it's not where you're at now, it's where you're going to be in 5 years, right?
Yeah.
I'm into that. But everybody seems to be a little different of where they think that what are the things that are appropriate for them. So like, how do you think through like risks, right? I'm into it. Like, of course, I'm in the asset protection and litigation field, right? So I'm super risk averse because like that's all I see is like when things go wrong into it. But like, what like introspectively do you see that like guides you to say like, hey, cool, well, I think I'm actually okay here with what I have right now, or that I should be doing something more. And like, what's the gap there that goes from like the should to the action?
Well, I'm much less risk averse than I should be, I'm sure. I have this, so I'm still active duty. And so one of the beautiful things about being a military guy while doing real estate investing or any other kind of investing is that if my worst case scenario is better than most people's. Right now, COVID and all this stuff has got people freaking out, and I'm like, my housing allowance is going to come in, my paycheck's going to come in, I'm going to have housing, I'm going to have food, even if they like totally shut everything down, I can go eat at the chow hall. I mean, I'm not worried one bit about any of that. And so it gives me a level of, I guess, a safety net that a lot of people don't have, where I know that if every single one of my assets just completely disappeared, I got sued, I filed bankruptcy, and the whole world fell apart, I'd still have my career. I'd still be able to eat. I'd still be. So I think I look through things at a little bit different lens, because I'm able to just sit back and go, okay, what's the worst case scenario with this? And I've been in a lawsuit. Well, I guess I should rephrase that. I am suing somebody because they didn't uphold their end of a contract on something, and they're counter suing, and so there's some issues there, and there's always that fear. But I know that my worst case scenario is if that goes completely against my will, and I lose everything on that or whatever. Like, well, that's its own LLC. It doesn't touch what I've got. I could totally. I mean, I just kind of think of it as like, well, that money's already lost, so it is what it is. If I get it back, great. If not, did it break me? No. Okay, well, let me keep. So I just kind of look through things like, there's a analogy. I don't know if you're familiar with Nassim Taleb, and I'm going to botch this, but I'm a huge fan. But the optionality that he talks about, where it's like, okay, investing like super low risk, like figuring out what the worst case scenario is, and then put just a little bit into like super high risk. So if you lose everything in that, it doesn't really matter because you've still got your nest egg. So I think of things that way, like, okay, what's the worst case scenario? And can I survive that? Okay, well, if I can survive that, what's the best case scenario? All right, well, that's way better. So I'm a little bit more okay with risk than, well, for one, my wife is, but most people probably, because I just know that I have a pretty solid safety net.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I think that's like a really important thing. I've heard like Rock Thomas and I have talked about quite a bit. And, Rock Thomas, like he works a lot with like Tony Robbins, is they talk about like, if you can create enough stability in your life, and they love real estate because it creates like this passive cash flow. And if you can create enough stability in your life around those income pieces, then you can start taking risky things with all the other pieces of your life. Like, what business are you into? What are the home runs that you're trying to hit? And that becomes your safety net into it, right? So for me, when I actually was getting started in real estate, I always had a travel van. And I was like, worst case scenario, I'm dude living in a van down by the river, And I was like, I'm okay with that,
Yeah, I love that.
And so I could go for it. I could go for it really hard, and it paid off, right? Because most things aren't really as dangerous, as risky as I thought they were before I got into them and actually understood what they were, One of the things that we talk about a lot too is about how you can take some risks like completely off the table, right? So one of the things that you did that was really, really good, that I'm really proud that you did, is like you used the shell company to be able to file the lawsuit. So if it blew back, it was just going to blow back on that shell company. It wasn't going to blow back on your asset holding company. It wasn't going to blow back on you personally, because there's always a countersuit that happens with that. So that's an amazing piece of doing it right. And then what we've also worked with other investors on is how to make it where you can just take like litigation risk off the table for you. So you eliminated part of the litigation risk, right? But you have all the assets in a single LLC. So now you have litigation risks that are going to happen for like somebody sues one property, can they go after all the properties that are inside of that LLC? So that's what we'll start using, like series structures and other things to kind of rip out of that. And another reason I'm going into that now, so everybody can hear like, okay, this is the educative part of like, okay, where are we taking that? Where's the advice coming through that's helpful for David? And so we can all kind of learn from it. Because you can actually take those risks off the table as well too. So I look at it as like, what risk can I actually remove? Insurance is awesome for that. Umbrella policies are awesome for that. Can I make sure that even if the insurance company screws me and by denying coverage, am I still cool there? I lose little or nothing? Sweet. Now all of a sudden lawsuits are like a non-issue, right? Because I'm not even sweating them at all. Into it. And that's like one of the things we look at. Because I'm with you, man. It's the more risk I can take off the table, the more risky I can be in the other parts of my life, which are actually going to change my life if those pay off. And those are the risks I like to take because those are fun, right? Because it's all about that hunt, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. So when you're looking into and coming in part of a community that we have here, like who are the types of people that you would think that you would be able to help as part of the community?
As far as like who I can, my avatar, I guess, for helping people out with like teaching stuff.
Yeah. So part of this whole like piece about building the community is right. It's like every person coming in is like saying like, hey, here's the kinds of people that I typically like to help, and here's how I typically help them. And then also other people are like, here's who I need help from. So people can hear that and have that opportunity to be able to say, hey, David, let me help you out with blah blah blah.
I really like taking people from zero and just getting them like foot in the door, honestly. So I mean, obviously my whole gamut is mainly military and and veteran focused because that's my niche. I'm still active duty, you know, and I'm replacing my income. I'm gonna be able to walk away. So I have a lot of information there. You know, I got screwed by a lender at one point in my life who talked me out of using the VA loan because he didn't know how it worked, and that cost me like 10 grand and all this other stuff. So I like to help people out where I'm like, hey, let me teach you how to do this for zero down, and let me, you know, and that kind of stuff. But I mean, I just like talking to people. So you know, anyone got questions about whatever, I mean, whether it's military life, you know, I was a recruiter, so I can talk to you about all that, and I can tell you the truth, or I can tell you what you would hear from a recruiter, which is not always the truth. But you know, it sounds great. You know, I'm just here to help in any way I can, I guess.
That's awesome, David. And who do you think you need like help from to be able to get to the next level?
Man, I think my biggest piece is, and I've been kind of joking about this, but you know, they talk about your network and your net worth and all, and hanging out with people that are just one or two or three steps ahead of you. And I realized that no matter how much I improve my network, I'm still around, you know, whether it be at work or life in general, people who just aren't on the same path. And so I really just, I think the biggest thing that I'm looking for at this point in my life, aside from like meeting other content creators and just having fun, you know, creating content with people, is just getting around other people that are going down the same road or already been down the road. I don't know that it's anything physical so much as just getting around people that think the same way and help you get past those limiting beliefs and can call you out on it, because people don't always tell you the truth. And I really appreciate people who have no problem telling me, hey, you really did not do well at this. So.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, that's really cool, bro. I think one of the things that we have going on here is that we're going to take this video, we're going to post it into the tax asset and asset protection and the Facebook group that we have for Royal Legal. So everybody that you're listening to this video, if you want to reach out to David, a great place to do it is go ahead and drop a comment to this video. If you're listening to this on the podcast, go to the Facebook group and connect with David through there. David, for anybody else that maybe doesn't have Facebook or is too shy to drop a comment in there, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you to connect with you?
Yep, my whole community is from militarytomillionaire.com or just Military Millionaire, and I'll pop up on Google, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, whatever.
That's awesome, guys. Well, reach out to David. He wants to help people that are at the very beginning of their journey, right? So if you're just getting going and you need somebody to give you a swift kick in the rear and some honest advice about like, here's exactly how it works and here's how it plays out, David sounds like a great guy to contact about that and share that information for. He's already hitting past that his 10 property threshold, so you already can know that he's had a good amount of track record. Really well positioned to be able to advise somebody who's looking to just get in and scale up to those pieces. So I highly recommend if you're in that position to contact David. I think he would be a great resource for you into that, right? So thank you, guys. I hope you enjoyed the podcast today. This was the Investor Spotlight for Royal Legal Solutions. Of course, I'm Scott Royal Smith, the owner of Royal Legal Solutions. Thanks for joining me here today.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it.